Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing a big book haul for all these instructional design-y type books that I've picked up from Barnes & Noble. So my goal is to read all 4 of these books before the end of the year, and they range from measuring training effectiveness all the way to actually taking that data and crafting a compelling narrative, because as an instructional designer you are kind of asked, how do you know this training is working, or what's the business impact of your training? And it's really important to be able to have that data and to kind of create and craft compelling stories about the effectiveness of your training that are really backed by data. So I think these 4 books that I've picked up are going to really help out with that. Now, all these books I bought new from Barnes & Noble's, but if you just look online, you can find used copies of them at a much more affordable price. So if you're curious about what books I'm going to be reading for the rest of the year to up-level my instructional design, keep watching. All right, so the very first book that I picked up was Gamification of Learning and Instruction Field Book. This is by Carl Kapp, Lucas Blair, and Rich Mesh. This retailed, I think, for $74.99, so it's kind of a pricey book, but it is pretty comprehensive. So really, I picked this book up because I've been wanting to dive more into gamification for training content. Now, gamification is one way to get your learners super engaged with your content and kind of help them feel a little more competitive and incentivized to actually engage with the training. I've implemented gamification in the past, but I do think that I have a lot to learn, and I'm pretty excited because this is actually the follow-up to their original book, the textbook about it, and this is the field book, so it's all the strategies to actually implement gamification into your trainings. And so very excited to use this to take existing trainings that I have and see if I can implement some of these best practices to make them more engaging and to kind of gamify it a bit more. I usually like to read these as inspiration so that when it is time to refresh and update training content, I can take bits and pieces of this gamification process and implement it in ways that are applicable to my training and my audience. So the second book that I picked up is called Storytelling with Data. Now, I'm super excited about this one because I've been really wanting to up-level how I take my learner and student data and really craft a story and a narrative from a business perspective to really show how we can measure the business and monetary impact of training. It's really important to be able to craft a story backed by data to really drive home that point of your effectiveness, the value, all of that of not just your training, but your team as a whole. I think this book is really going to allow me to take the metrics and make sure that I'm displaying them in a way that really tells a nice compelling story. This book was on barnesandnoble.com for I think $42. It is by Cole Nussenbauer Nelflick. I've been wanting to work on improving my data skills recently, so this will be the next one I read. All right, so next up we have Kirkpatrick's 4 Levels of Training Evaluation, and this is kind of I think one of the holy grails in terms of evaluating how effective, a training is on the learners. I'm super excited to read this one. It's not super long and the font is honestly pretty big, which is exciting. This book was $29.99 by James and Wendy Kaiser Kirkpatrick, and this is really just another deep dive into a process for evaluating training and its effectiveness. And I think I'll be able to draw a lot of inspiration for what I already have and what I'm already doing, and kind of amplify and improve what I'm doing based on this model. I feel I've read a lot of blog posts about this or watched YouTube videos about Kirkpatrick's 4 Levels of Training Evaluation, but actually to be able to read the book about it, I feel I'll be able to take away the things that really apply to me and my job versus other people's interpretations, which has been very helpful in the past, but I'm excited to read this on my own. I do like that it has examples within the book and different, questions to ask yourself. It's a really well done book. I love a graphic or some sort of diagram because it helps to break up, the long text. So I'm excited to go through this. This feels like one where I'll probably try to read 1 chapter a month and kind of think about how I'm applying it to my day-to-day. This is the oldest book, I think. It's called How to Measure Training Results, A Practical Guide to Tracking the 6 Key Indicators by Jack Phillips and Ron Drew Stone. I got this book for, I'm not really sure. Okay, so it looks like I got this for $55. It's on Barnes & Nobles, but I think you can find used copies of all of these books for much cheaper. So how to measure training results. So this book I think was written in like the early 2000s. Yeah, 2000. So almost 24 years ago. I mean, so I think a lot of it might not be 100% applicable. However, I do think that books like these that, you know, kind of stand the test of time are really useful to read because you can get a lot of inspiration and ideas and kind of the fundamental refreshers that you might be looking for when you're reading a book like this. So I'm very excited. I would love to learn again more about measuring training results, as well as like what to do with those results. I think that's like kind of the key thing here that I'm hoping to gather from all of these books is like taking those results and then turning them into some sort of narrative, some sort of story, and really to kind of get a better understanding of what the results look like now and, you know, determine ways to improve them, whether that's up leveling and improving the training content, delivering it differently, etc. So very excited about this book. If you're interested in me doing a review or like a summary video on any of these books, just let me know down in the comments below. I will be reading these throughout the rest of the year, so I'm happy to do like a 10-15 minute recap of my top key points from each of these. So if that's of interest to you, just let me know. So those are the 4 books, it's very heavy, that I picked up from my Barnes & Nobles haul. But it wouldn't be a book haul video if I didn't bring up a very special book to my heart, which is my latest book, Teacher to Instructional Designer, Make the Transition from Teacher to Instructional Designer, that I just published. That is basically a handbook for everything you need to know if you're a teacher right now, wanting to transition into tech, all of the like stressful, chaotic thoughts that you might be having about where do I start, or what do I do with my LinkedIn profile, or what do I do with my resume, or how do I network? All of those questions and more will be answered in this book. Had to plug it just in case anyone's interested. I'll leave all of these linked down below so you can check them out if you're interested. So that's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments below which of these books you've either read before or any of the books that look interesting to you and you're thinking about picking up. And if you have any questions about other resources maybe that you're interested in for instructional design, leave your questions, leave your thoughts, and we can chat about it. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.